Cool. All right. So yeah, welcome to the first Power Platform Express community call. Hoping that it'll grow organically, trying to share out and get as many people on here as possible. Today we're just going to talk about welcoming you to the Power Platform Express, what the Power Platform Express is, who I am. Going to share out some Power Platform learning pathways, then do a quick share and tell of the Power Platform Plan Designer, which is a new feature that's recently coming out. It's still in preview, but I found it kind of neat. It has some bugs, but we can show that. And then finally, kind of the reason for the call, which is the Ask the Experts portion of the call there. So feel free to talk over me, ask questions. The more interactive this is, the better it is, I've found with any of these kind of calls. Power Platform Express, what is it? It is the community forums, which are hosted over at school right now. It's kind of the best place I could find for hosting it for now. There's some features that are missing on it, like being able to mark things as a question or an answer and whether or not it's been answered or not. And then it's also these community calls, which is an opportunity to ask the experts, do live screen sharing, training materials, training sessions. Really, the reason why I created this is twofold. One, Microsoft's Power Platform community forums, they changed over to a new system. It's very slow, and I've been struggling to answer questions out there, and I've noticed a real slowdown in people asking questions out there. So I wanted a place where people could come and do that again, share their apps, share their questions, and surface those answers and have experts answer those questions. And then the second reason is that at my previous company, I had biweekly Ask the Expert sessions, just like this, where you could log in, share your screen, ask whatever questions to the community as well as to the host, which is myself, and I had two other counterpart Power Platform experts on those calls. I missed those calls. With my new company, I don't have a chance to do that, so I wanted to start that back up again and hopefully grow this. At that company, we had a community of over 1,000 people. I'd love to grow it to that and more, and just get a lot of excitement behind it and a lot of learning with the platform. I learn as much as other people do by doing this. A lot of times people ask me a really hard question, and by doing that, it leads me into a different portion of the platform that I haven't learned about, and I get to learn about a little bit. So we had somebody else join on here, so you might have missed this, but feel free to speak up as well as raise your hand or put your questions into the chat at any point on this. I'll be sharing this deck out in the recording as well. Cool. So who is this guy? Who is Rob Rising? That's me. I am Power Platform developer and consultant. I live in Connecticut, and with my wife Heather and our puppy Blaze. We have an Australian Shepherd. He's like 3 years old. He's a little bit schizo sometimes, but the training's going well and he's getting better. He's fun. As far as my work, I've been in technology for 25 years, which is pretty much my entire career across many different industries, such as I worked at Pfizer, I've worked at Otis Technologies, United Technologies, Travelers. I worked at the Hartford for about 18 years, and most recently and currently, the Associate Director of Application Development at Kyndryl, focusing on low-code, no-code, specifically Power Platform there. So I have a lot of clients that I build out solutions for through that work. Some fun facts: I was a firefighter EMT for almost a decade. And since then, since I retired, semi-retired from that, I've built some solutions for other fire departments across the U.S. using the Power Platform and my knowledge of being a firefighter. So that's pretty cool. I've had a lot of fun doing that. My wife and I, we love to travel. We've hiked Kilimanjaro. We've hiked Everest Base Camp. It's actually where I proposed and we got together. And I love hiking, mountain biking, skiing. And I didn't put this down as a hobby, but Power Platform really is. It's not just what I do for work, it's also my hobby. Most people who work in this or start using the Power Platform, I found that you really enjoy doing it. You love working with it, and so it's really a blessing that I get paid. I get paid to work with the Power Platform. So that is me. So one of the first things I want to present on here is the Power Platform learning pathways, and I'm going to kind of do this, I think, on all of these sessions. Is just have a couple of things as I find them. I'll just share them with the community at large before we open up the Q&A session. And yeah, this is one of the first ones. I've been sharing this Power Platform Learning Pathways. It's a PDF. It's created by Microsoft UK, Microsoft Power Platform UK community, or I think it's actually Microsoft UK officially. And I've been sharing it for, God, the past year and a half or so. And I have it on my work computer. So I went to find it on my personal computer here, and I didn't have a copy of it. And funny enough, they had just updated the version of this. So this looks completely different from what I had before, but it's the same thing. And what it is it's learning pathways for the Power Platform. So it takes you through the different pathways. So you have, citizen dev, pro dev, and then the different portions of the Power Platform as well, and then links to all of the tutorials, training that Microsoft has, as well as on YouTube. It's an amazing PDF. So you start at the top, and you have fundamentals, primary, and advanced. A little bit different organized than before, but I really like it. I'll have to look through it fully. But it has two pathways, citizen developer and professional developer, all the certifications, the listing of the certifications, and then it goes through each of the portions of the Power Platform, like Power Automate and how to get started, the community references, the documentation, and so on and so forth for Power Apps, for Power BI, for Power Pages, and then even for the Power Platform governance and enablement. So really cool. The link to that is it's www.aka.ms/Power Platform Learning Pathway. Like I said, I'll share out the presentation here, and I have a link to that right there. But that's where you can get this PDF, and I suggest use it, share it as often as you can. It's a great resource. All right. So next thing I wanted to showcase, just kind of a little share and tell, was the Power Platform Plan Designer. I'm actually going to put a little. I know there's only a few people on here, but I wanted to share, if I can, a survey on here. See if it'll let me do that. Or maybe I'll just, there we go. So I'm just going to do a little poll. And it's just on Power Platform expertise. Just what level of expertise you have in the Power Platform. Looks like we have intermediate. So you're just getting started, you're beginner, intermediate, advanced. So it looks like just a intermediate slash advanced. So you know how to use solutions, and one of you is very advanced on there. Awesome, that's good to know. Has anybody seen the Power Platform Plan Designer? Had a chance to mess around with it at all?
If I see, because I'm not sure if I see it correctly, but this is the new way how you can create tables, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because the screen is a little bit small, so
Oh,
it's
is it
hard
smaller?
to. Yeah, but it's fine. I know what you mean. I try it, but it's still not perfect. I recently read that, for example, if you trying to use, for example, um, choice like global choice and something very specific, you have problem to create it.
Yeah,
It's similar to Power Automate, like New Designer. There is many options, but there is still not everything. But what is very important, it really can speed up the process of creation, because you can ask for sample data, you can make those easy things very, very fast. So it's a great way how you can create tables and relationships and stuff like that. So yeah,
it,
it's fine.
it, exactly. And that's kind of what I ran into as well, is that you can create something, but you can't really get into the advanced configurations, and it's going to mess some things up. But you said it perfectly. It speeds up creating those tables, and that's what I've used it for when I've used it, which is for creating solutions that require a lot of tables and a lot of columns. It can really speed that up. So I'll walk through just like a quick use case here, just for anybody who hasn't seen it before. I just talk to it. So essentially, you can create your data modeling within there. Can you read the text on this, by the way? I know the screenshot's really small, but you can read the text, right?
Yeah, text is fine.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's data modeling made easy. So you can type directly to Copilot, and it'll create the tables and the columns and the relationships for you for the most part. Sometimes it'll get them wrong, but like I said, it'll speed it up. if we just like quickly create, so you'd come to Power Apps, make.powerapps.com. If you don't see this, there might be an option up here to use the new experience. You'll have to check that. This is still in, I believe it's in preview. It might have just gone general release though, considering I don't see the whole use new features option on here. But you can just describe it to design it, just like you would with the Flow Copilot or anything else. So you'd say, I want to create an app to manage my pet exercise and diet business called Just a Little Husky. I will need to track customers, their pets diet and weight and calorie intake, appointments. Anything else you can think of? We're going to start a pet exercise and diet business. It's called Just a Little Husky. We're going to track the customers, their pets diet, calorie intake, appointments. What else do we need for tables and columns? What do you think? You can always add it afterwards as well. We'll say pictures of the pet. All right, so we've kind of described what our app is going to do, and you just click on Go, and it's going to quickly create all of the tables, the columns, and the relationships, and there's going to be some gotchas on there. I'll show those once that goes through. There we go. So just like that, you have a few tables that you requested. It assumes, sometimes it'll assume like customer name should have contact number as well, or customer table should have customer name and contact number on it. Diet description, like I didn't ask it for that. So sometimes it'll assume things and it'll just throw various columns and tables and relationships into there. One big thing that I did notice is that the primary key, it used a text instead of a GUID or an auto number, which is kind of a no-no. But you can always go into the advanced settings afterwards and change that. Change this to just a secondary key and create your own keys and everything, and create your relationships the standard way instead of using the designer. But like Milan said, the power of this is you can build. I mean, I built a solution that had, I think, like 15 tables and probably a few hundred columns, and I was able to build it within 10, 20 minutes. It wasn't perfect, but how long would it take you to do that? If you were going to go column by column, table by table, it would take you quite some time, rather than you create it this way, and then you do have some cleanup to do. You can go back in and change the column types, the names, change those primary keys, maybe fix some relationships, but you can do that in here as well, most of those things. And you can also talk to the Copilot. It doesn't have too many prompts that'll work in here. I found that you can create new columns and new tables as long as they're column types that you can select in here. So if I select the ellipsis here and click View Data, you can create new columns, new rows, adjust the ownership, the properties, but it's kind of limited. So if I were to change this column type, it only gives me a certain type of column. So that's related, sorry. Only gives me a certain columns that I can select on here. It doesn't have all of the column types that you have available inside of Dataverse. I think they're getting there though. This Plan Designer it's pretty cool that you can do this. Not quite ready for prime time, for start to finish, for building a solution, but still cool to have in your toolbox to be able to build those solutions that have a lot of tables and columns.
I have a question for you, if I may.
Go ahead, yeah, of course.
Let's say you have these 5 tables, and for example, after a few days, you will decide that you need another 4 tables. How you can jump in back into this process of those first 5 tables, so you can just open it again and then add a new tables?
As far as I know, that's not an option yet.
Yeah.
As far as I know, once you save and open the app, so if I go up here and I save as a Canvas app or a model-driven app, that's it. So it's Plan Designer, not Plan, Editor. You can't come back in. I wish you could, but no, I'm pretty sure you'd have to manually create those tables and those columns afterwards and adjust the relationships afterwards, the standard way, rather than being able to use the Plan Designer. I would hope that Microsoft in the future would do something like that, would transition into being able to bring it back into designer mode and edit this. And somebody who's watching this video later, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll be very happy if that is the case, but I haven't seen an option to do that. Like if I go Canvas app and save an open app, I've never seen an option to bring it back into Plan Designer.
Yeah, I was also trying to find a way, but I had no luck.
Yeah,
So it's probably not
yeah. Fingers
available.
crossed they'll add that in the future because it would be nice to have. Be very nice to have that. All right. That takes a while to go through. Any questions while that's going through? Share those results. There we go. I'm curious. I'll launch another poll here. Power Platform opportunity. So, where do you see the biggest opportunity for using the Power Platform in your customers, either yourselves or if you work for clients building something you probably do, or your customers' day-to-day work? Are they automating repetitive tasks, tracking data and metrics, creating approval workflows? Like what's the biggest opportunity you see? Looks like tracking data and metrics is one on there. Everything starts with data. I've found like a lot of my clients, my foot in the door is usually, Power BI or some data migration or something like that. And then next is usually a modernization and migration. Like the opportunity is they have something in Access or .NET or some app that the vendor is no longer supporting that needs to be transitioned. Looks like tracking data and metrics is the biggest answer there. Yep, 100%. Another big one, the second biggest one I see is like approval workflows after data. A lot of users internally inside of customers, enterprises are looking to automate approval structures. I love how this automatically brings you into a responsive design. Like it uses those new screen types, so you don't have to build from scratch. It's way better than that first like 3 screen that it built when building an app. It's come light years ahead with this. You have your header and you have your different sections. Really gets you much more forward in the app design process. Let's see. All right. Well, those were the two things that I really wanted to share before we hop into some Q&A here. Was really that learning pathways PDF, as well as talk about this new feature, the plan design feature. Sure, I'll have a bigger agenda on one of the other sessions, but like I said, I think the biggest part of this that I wanted was to solve questions together and do this as a Q&A session, ask the expert kind of session. So yeah, what questions do you have out there? And it doesn't have to be specific to designing or developing. It could be about consulting. It could be about governance. Really anything. Don't be shy. No question too small or too big. If it's too big, then we'll take it offline probably and create a community post, or have another session. But definitely nothing too small.
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah.
So, for example, recently I faced a situation where in model-driven app, you can have custom SVG icons for your custom tables, for example. And how you can debug these icons if you, for example, have some icons which are working, but after some time these icons are not displayed in the model-driven app when user open the application, and you see the icon is still there. You see the icon is in, for example, has right extension, has right properties, but somehow it is not working. And it is like you have some entity, some custom entity, let's say table one, and if you use this icon, for example, for this table one entity, it's not working, but another icon is working. So it is some tricky situation, but I'm trying to find a way how you can debug these custom icons if you are not like SVG or some kind of graphic expert. And
Yeah. Is that what you're using as SVG on there?
yeah, I have some SVG icons. Suddenly I can't share it because I have no access to the environment right now. But those icons were built by, let's say, professional, and those icons were working for a couple of months. And last week it stopped working, but there is like, let's say, 15 custom icons, and just only three or four of them are not working. So it's really strange for me, but I'm I'm not able to figure out how to solve it. And it looks like there is no problem with pixels, or it's every single icon is SVG.
Yep.
And so
And
it's yeah.
so is it every customer is seeing the same problem, or is it, like you said, transient where occasionally the icon will show up and then it'll disappear?
It is like you have model-driven app where
hmm
on the left side you have like 15 entities,
Yeah.
and three of them can display the icons, and those, let's say, 7 or 10 entities are not. It is same for everyone who is using the application. So it is not like something local.
Okay, so not like a
Uh,
browser cache issue or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
all of
try.
the icons, specifically like four, will stop working and no customer can see those icons, right?
Yeah, it is like when you don't use the icon, there is the default like puzzle icon, that out of the box icon. But these icons are not displayed, so the background is like gray or like empty.
hmm
If you know what I mean. Like when you create a custom entity or custom table,
Yep.
and you add this table into the model-driven app, the icon is like puzzle. It's, I don't know how to call it. The the shape of the icon is like puzzle.
Like a puzzle piece?
Yeah, like a puzzle piece on if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these icons or these entities, there is no the puzzle. There is like background is like gray, but you can achieve something like when you load the application, when you press Control F5, the beginning of the reloading the application for, I don't know, maybe for like for 100 milliseconds, there is the icons like displayed, but then like turn off the light. It's like click, blick, and then you can't see it. So yeah, this is something new for me, and I'm fighting with this.
Yeah, that's a frustrating issue to run into, and I've run into similar issues even with Canvas apps before, as well as adaptive cards, where icons or pictures will just stop loading or start loading. Sometimes it's a size issue, like the size of the image, not size, but the actual storage size of the image. Have you checked what, like, how large those icons are?
Yeah, the icons have just 2 kilobytes. And I recently read the documentation, and there is that icon should have up to 10 kilobytes.
Yeah, so that
So
2K should be fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's 2 kilobytes, and the pixel is 32 for 32, I think.
And you have it published as a web resource in the solution
Yeah,
for that model
yeah,
driven
it
app?
is. Yeah, it is a web resource as SVG,
Yeah.
and for example, you can use icons directly into the solution on the table. So there is one icon, there is also SVG, and that SVG icon is displayed. But another icon, which is also SVG, but that SVG icon is linked inside the model-driven app. So that icon is not displayed. And those icons are very similar. There is just like a black and blue color.
Hmm.
So when you click on the lookup is like, the text of the lookup column is blue. So
Hmm.
also the icon is blue, but the icons in model-driven app are like just black color. So it's yeah. Um,
Yeah, I'm wondering, do you have any solution layers in that solution?
no. It's a development, but also on the production or on different. But no, there is just one solution layer.
One solution, and it's the same problem you're seeing across,
Yeah, across
dev test and
environments.
prod.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
It's
is interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a caching issue, or it's doing like a security check or something like that as it's loading. The fact that the icon shows up and then it disappears.
I had no time to check, but do you think there is some kind of options inside the admin center? Like you can make probably some kind of changes based on the environment or on the environment level, like in admin center. Maybe, I don't know, I had no time for this, but this is maybe what can be the issue. There is probably some kind of checkbox, or I don't know, but
Usually, yeah. I mean, some things that I would try is maybe, I mean, double triple check that it's published as a resource within the solution. Check the path. I mean, he said that it loads, so it's probably not the path in the entity settings matching. I do a publish all customizations and do a hard refresh.
yeah.
And check and make sure there's no solution layering. Uh, Double check the security permissions. Make sure they have read access to the icon. Uh, yeah, that's about the only admin level thing that I can think of that would cause that is maybe a security role problem.
Mm, no,
Hmm.
there is probably something different as a security because as a developer,
Hmm.
on the developer environment, you have a system administrator
Yep.
rights, and even system administrator is not able to see it. So
Even that system admin, you're not able
yeah,
to see the
yeah.
icon.
It's the strange thing is that if you are inside the model-driven app, uh, when you like managing the way how the tables are displayed,
Hmm.
there is the options like area, and you can like use up and down and stuff like that. You see
Yep.
the icons, you see the system is able to load it.
But
So
it
you
doesn't
see,
load it
okay,
when you're
yeah,
actually
but
in
yeah,
play mode.
yeah, exactly. So this is the strange, like, mm, but never
Well,
mind. We can we can
yeah, yeah,
jump.
yeah, yeah. Well, we can. I would say post it inside of the community there, and we can keep on going after it and see if we can find other solutions. One other thing I would check is maybe the size, the actual dimensions. Make sure the dimensions are correct, that they're the same. They're like 16 by 16, 32 by 32. Because if one is larger, that might be why. Like it's sent, it sees that it's out of the bounds and it doesn't display
and
the icon. That'd be something else that I would check.
and do you think that do you need like exactly the 16 to 16 and 32 to 32, or it can be like a little bit smaller?
I don't.
Or
So I don't know that I don't know that smaller would cause a problem, but I think larger would definitely cause a problem. But 16 by
yeah,
16 and 32 by 32 are standards, I think, for entity icons. So you could try that.
Yeah, because I know that one icon, there is like one icon which has like not 32 but 29.
Hmm.
The strange thing is it was working for many months. So I believe there is some release from Microsoft. Probably because
Probably, yeah. And when all else fails, put a ticket in, have Microsoft, tech support take a look at it. They can see things we can't. They can see logs that we can't.
yeah,
That might be a good thing. But definitely post it inside of the community there. And I'd be
yeah.
curious to see what the resolution is, if we can find a resolution for that for you.
Yeah, me too. If I will be able to solve it, I will definitely share the resolution for people.
Even before, share inside of there, ask that question, see if anybody else has seen that, and we can try to tackle it. I'll try to recreate the, the scenario on my side inside of my dev environment here. See if I can figure that out. But cool, good question. Did anybody else have any questions that they want to bring up? See if we can solve it. Doesn't have to be a dev question. Like I said, it could be a question about consulting, how to make money with this, how to get a promotion, how to get transition into Power Platform, governance questions. If not, Milan's going to ask another question because I think he had another one. All right, silence is golden. Milan, did you have another question?
Yeah, well, I have many questions, but I feel like I have some kind of promotion now, Free consulting. I'm very
That's
happy for this.
yeah. This is exactly what this is set up for, man.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
happy I missed it.
the thing is that I was not expecting that I will have so many plays for the questions.
Hmm.
But maybe what do you think about the solution or about the possibilities of using yes or no control on the formulars in model-driven app? Because as far as I know, this is basically true or false.
Yep.
So once you put this control on the form, you have no options like in, for example, choice or option set where you can adjust the values. You have just 0 and 1, which is
Hmm.
true and false.
Yep.
And I was facing the situation where you have, for example, let's say table 1, and in this table you have this control. But then you have another table which has a relationship with the table 1, and inside the table 2 you want to display the value from the table 1 based on the relation between the records. So I use calculated column
Hmm.
which can basically provide these options. But what is new for me is that if you have, for example, customer which want to have a custom localizations of labels, let's say English and whatever, German, Polish, whatever, then you have no options to display this value because the value is still like hard-coded to yes or no when you use the calculated columns. So you can change the label in
Hmm.
the control from yes to whatever, but the calculation is still happening in the way where true is yes and false is no.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's what that column's designed to do. So is your
yeah,
question like using that versus using a choice control?
yeah. Well, I started with choice, but you can't use choice with calculated columns. So if you have a choice column and you want to use calculated columns in a different table, there is no options for formula to display the calculated value from choice because the choice are basically another table because the label and value. So this is the problem. And maybe in the future there will be some implementation. But right now, if you are trying to create calculated column from choice, there is no options. But if you just have one localization, Then you can use another approach where you can make calculated column based on the relationship, and then you can like use if. And in if you can specify true value, and then you can use like apostrophe and the label of that translation. This can be done for just one simple scenario. If you have multiple languages, for example, I think this is not working solution, because there is no way, I think, to make some kind of
like a
very complex logic.
A nested if. I mean, you could use a switch. You could use switch instead for that and have multiples in it, and it would simplify it.
Yeah, but the question is how you can use switch inside the calculated column to say that, for example, switch if German, switch if Polish, you know?
Yeah.
The determination of the language context is problem. So probably the only option is to use to some kind of plugin or JavaScript.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like go advanced or go advanced or custom page with a Canvas app on it. Like but
everything
JavaScript
is possible.
I was just talking to somebody earlier, one of my coworkers, another Power Platform developer, and we were talking about how there's like 800 different ways to do something inside of the platform, and it's both a blessing and a curse. It's like everything's possible, but which is the right way to do it? That is tricky though, because it is like using a Boolean and then using data versus labeling and translation to display localized text. I think you'd have to use custom code to do that, because
But at the beginning, you are just trying to solve how to display user yes or no.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty, and you end up with JavaScript if you want to make it. But
localization definitely adds a lot of complexity to an application, to a solution.
Yeah, true.
What else you got? No, we didn't solve that one for you. That's a tough one to solve. Both of these are kind of ones you'll have to dive into and go with. That second one's definitely going to be custom. Some custom programming for that.
But yeah, I solved this as I mentioned, that I had just two languages, like English, and in my case it was a Slovak language. So it can be done by the if statement, where you can just specify the true value, and then you can use the those two values. But in scenario where you have multiple languages, it can be problem. So as we thought, probably the JavaScript is only possible solution. I'm trying to think about more questions, but I need to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, I'll make for our next week's. I'll make a post where people can feed questions in, and we can go through those questions, or just a reminder. Come ready with some problems, especially ones that you can screen share on or have some documentation on or something, screenshots. It helps to have a visual on it. Things that it's not going to take the whole hour to solve, hopefully, but if it does, we could always take it offline, have other sessions or anything like that. Marta, you have a question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Rob, for doing this. I follow you on LinkedIn, and I found really helpful everything that you post there.
Thank you.
So I say, yes, let's join this meeting. So I have a question that I am facing. I guess since I am working in Power Apps, I've been working in Power Apps for 2 years, and I am really tired to do that, but I guess there is no solution, so I am keep going. So we have 3 environments, right? And I'm doing an app. When I bring the environment to the dev environment and I have a flow that is triggered from the app, is not working in the prod for if someone is not inside of the security group. So this is how my company works.
Mhm.
We have like security groups that we cannot open for the entire enterprise, right?
Yep.
So what I need to do is bring the solution from the dev to the prod and edit the solution or the app in this case in the prod, removing the flow and add again, and then it's doing a
Like
like a,
sharing the app with the user, the flow with the user, essentially, right?
no, I'm not.
No.
I'm not sharing the flow. I just removing the flow from the app. So I go to the prod environment, edit the
Mhm.
app that is supposed to manage app because I am bringing from the dev to the prod, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I edit the app, removing the flow and adding the flow again, saving and publish, and then create a one layer, and manage
A layer.
uh,
Yeah. An unmanaged
layer.
layer.
Sorry,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, sorry, and then it's working, but like it's wasting of my time because every time that I need to publish something, I need to go the app and do this again all the time. So
Yeah. And that's, yeah, creating unmanaged layers inside of your solution, you really don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be managing that. That's
right,
adds a lot of complexity to your deployment process. I've run into similar with a customer I'm working with right now where they actually don't add users into the production environments inside of
yeah.
security roles. So same thing. I'm curious. So you're saying that by removing that flow in production and republishing it, the user is able to run that flow from within the app?
That is correct.
Interesting. I haven't tried that as a way of solving. I'm not going to because I don't want unmanaged layers. I'm going to keep on fighting the good fight to get them
Yeah,
to
no.
put the users in a security role. That is the solution. They should be using RBAC or something like that, some security group in Entra, a Microsoft team, anything to add those users into the production environment with a basic role, which will give them the rights to run that flow. Because they're getting that error, user does not have environment read PRV dot permission or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, is that what they're saying? Yeah, yeah. That is a solution. I'm surprised that removing that flow and adding it actually fixes that. I'm wondering if it's running it, it's forcing it to run it in context of the app and using their app permissions or something like that. I don't know, but
yeah.
if
I'm not sure, but this is what I'm doing from 2 years ago, and it's working perfectly. But I am tired, right? Like every time I need to do an edit,
yeah,
first I need to go to the prod, remove the layer, right? Because I am
yep,
going to bring something new. So I
yep.
remove it, then I bring the something new, and then I edit the flow again, create this layer, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, the more complex you make your deployment process, the less you're going to want to make changes to it. And like
Oh
you're
yeah,
feeling
for
that. I'm
sure.
sure you get those emails where they're like, "Can you just change this little piece of text?" And
Yeah,
you're dreading that because you're like, "That's going to take me half an hour just to
yeah,
make that tiny
yeah,
little change." Yeah,
yeah.
I would suggest reaching out to whoever's in charge of your Power Platform, whoever's administrating it, and explain to them, like show them with screenshots the errors that you're seeing. I wouldn't even mention the workaround that you have. I would say,
Yeah.
this is best practice. Best practice is to have your users inside of a security role in the environment that they're using these solutions, because otherwise they can't run those flows. That's
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
that's it's probably a bug that it's allowing you to run the flow, to be honest, because
Oh yeah.
they need
Yeah.
those basic permissions to run that flow. Great, great question. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I wish I had a
No
better
worries.
answer for it.
Yeah. It's okay. It's just when a client asks me for something new, like you say, I say, hey, wait until you have more, you know?
Yes, yes. I say that as well. I'm like, give me a list of them. Like save
Yeah.
them up so I don't have to go
Yeah.
through and spend half an hour to make one tiny little change.
Correct. So yeah, I am trying to teach them new habits, right? Yeah. Okay. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Did
And thank you for doing this. I
Of
appreciate
course.
that.
No, I'm happy. Thank you for coming on. This is cool. I missed having these kind of sessions, so I'm hoping that we continue to grow and have more of them and have more people on, have more questions, and It's not just going to be me answering. I don't think I'm going to invite some other experts on here to help out and give a different perspective on here as well. Did you have any other questions?
I don't think I have like minor question, but I can wait for the next week. I
Okay.
will join next week too.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a meeting now at 10, sorry. I
Yeah,
am in
no.
California.
Okay, I'm in Connecticut, so it's
Okay.
almost 1 o'clock here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we can close it up early if nobody has any other questions. The first one, so I expected it to be a little bit small. We're going to grow this organically, so invite other people if you want to, but come ready with some questions, or if you want to present something, if you have a solution you've built, or really anything, just let me know. Post in our community, send me a direct message, however you want to get a hold of me, and we can have you host on here or have you present something.
Thank you so much, Rob, and
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you, Marta. So no other questions. I'll close it up. Stop recording here. I'll share the recording out. I'll share the presentation out. Yeah, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah, me also. And Rob, thanks again for this session. And yeah, I think it will be a good one also for next week. So great job.
Yeah, feel free to
Happy to
post
be
that
here.
question, Milan, in the community. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm gonna test that out because I have seen that before with adaptive cards and even with Canvas apps where icons and images show up and then don't. It's got to be some sort of dataverse communication or security permission issue or something. But see if I can recreate it.
Yeah, I will try.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your questions, and hopefully I'll see you on here next week.